I got the Hasika SUV tailgate tent for a camping trip for my spouse and my sons this weekend. And I got the small just for reference, and we have an Escalade. So it was a little bit too small. The large would have been perfect. We mainly wanted something that could give them shade and privacy off the back of the SUV without dealing with a huge complicated campsite setup. And this definitely did just that. So for reference, this is the Escalade, and I mistakenly ordered a size small. The size large would have been a perfect fit for the size of this SUV. It technically worked, but it just didn't give enough coverage. As you can see, you're going to see a little bit of like spots that are open in the tailgate area. So if you have an Escalade, a Suburban, an Expedition, Yukon XL, something like that, I would definitely recommend getting the large size instead. The large would have been perfect. But overall, the setup itself was actually a lot easier than he expected. Watching my husband put it together, it's basically like a lightweight awning mixed with a tent. It attaches around the back hatch area, and once it's secured, it creates this really useful covered space behind the car. And it also has a zipper net behind it. So you also have that bug protection when you're sleeping in the car as well. What I really like is that it's versatile. You can use it for camping, obviously, but also you can use it on beach days, sport tournaments, road trips, tailgating, fishing, or even just hanging out at the park when you just want shade and a little bit of privacy. The material feels surprisingly durable as well. It's super lightweight, but it is waterproof, rated up to 3,000 millimeters. So it's designed to handle a lot of rain. It also has UPF 50, which is great sun protection, which is huge if you're outside all day in the summer. The one thing I noticed while he was setting up is that it folds pretty compact compared to traditional camping gear. It doesn't feel like one of those giant bulky tents that take over your trunk space. It just folds up neatly in a tiny little carrying bag that you can put it in your trunk when it's not in use. So it's super important that because once you have kids, you have sports gear, you have coolers, snacks, towels, and everything else in the car, space disappears really fast. So it was really important to us that we had something compact when it was not in use. I also like that you still get airflow while having coverage. A lot of car awnings can feel kind of stuffy or closed in, but this setup feels open enough that it's comfortable to sit under for a long time. All we needed really was just a mat to put at the bottom of the trunk. It would have been perfect. So if you're someone who camps but doesn't necessarily want a full complicated campsite setup, this is kind of a nice middle ground. You get extra covered living space without needing a giant tent system. I would especially see this being useful for road trips where you stop frequently. Like if you're driving for hours and you want a shaded place to eat lunch, change clothes after the beach, take a break, or even just escape bugs for a bit. Another thing I really appreciate is that it gives you some privacy around the back of the vehicle. That's really helpful for changing, organizing gear, or even sleeping in the SUV if you're doing car camping, which is what my son and my spouse did. I'd say the biggest takeaway from my experience is definitely the size selection. If you have a mid-size SUV or a smaller vehicle, the small is great. But for large SUVs, I would absolutely size up to the large version for better coverage and fit. Overall, though, this is just one of those products that make outdoor days way more comfortable without adding a ton of hassle. Easy to pack, easy to set up than expected, and really practical for anyone who spends a lot of time outdoors or on the road.